Hey, Greg here, founder of www.wrestling-divas.webs.com, your source for highlighting the most beautiful and deadly entertainers in professional wrestling. Trained by the likes of the legendary Leilani Kai, my next special guest has enjoyed international success as a pro wrestler for over 10 years now. She is a former NWA World Women's Champion, but fans may best remember her as the character Glory from Season 1 of Jimmy Hart's Wrestlicious, where she is the current reigning and inaugural Wrestlicious champion. So I'd like to welcome my next special guest, Christie Ricci. Hi, Christie. How are you?
Hi, Greg. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, the first thing that I noticed about you when I was researching your career was that during college you were going to move to another state to pursue wrestling at another wrestling school. But you somehow were approached or got in contact with Leilani Kai, who, of course, is a legend in her own right, and you decided to stay in your area to go train with her. So what was it about her, the conversations that you had with her, that made you stay to train with her as opposed to go to another state to learn how to wrestle?
Well, first of all, when I decided at a really young age that I wanted to be a wrestler, so the agreement was with my family that I could do whatever I wanted as long as I went to college. And, you know, that was important to me. I wanted to go to college and finish college. My freshman year is when I started really researching how to become a professional wrestler because, of course, I had no idea. I had never met anyone actually pursuing that type of career or anything. So, you know, I literally just did a Google search for professional wrestling schools, and the closest one I could find was in Atlanta. And, you know, I literally applied to Georgia Tech. I got accepted. I was in my very last semester, and that's when I met Leilani Kai. And for me, I really believe that it was just kind of fate for me to meet her at the time I met her. And the way I was introduced to her is I had told this guy that he was a regular at one of my friend's bars that she owned, and I had, you know, started telling people that I was transferring to Georgia Tech and I was going to professional wrestling school because I wanted to be a professional wrestler. And he actually was a valet for Burt Prentice, which is a local promoter in Nashville, Tennessee. I think his company is USA Championship Wrestling, something like that. And he had told me that, you know, he knew Leilani Kai and she had just moved to Nashville and she was in camp. And, of course, like, I totally thought he was a liar because I remember WrestleMania 10 and seeing Leilani Kai, and then I remember, you know, the Glamour Girls. And so I was like, no way. Like, she's even around. I had no clue that she even still wrestled or had any kind of involvement at that point. And so, of course, I didn't believe him. And he was like, yeah, you know, come to our school on Saturday and check it out. And, you know, if you're interested, I'm sure, you know, she would be willing to take on another student. So went to see if he was telling the truth because I still did not believe him. And then, you know, I went to her school that day and I met her and I was like, oh, my goodness. For me, it was never really a decision, do I stay or do I go? I knew nothing about that training school in Atlanta. And like I said, I just felt like it was fate that I met her. We clicked instantly. She didn't have any girls in her class, and she has always been all about the women and all about the girls in the business and, you know, wanting to lead them in the right direction. So she immediately put me under her wing, and, you know, it was never even thought of again. I ended up staying in Nashville and staying at my university in PSU and trained with her.
Well, you just said that there were no other girls in her training class at the time that you started training. And oftentimes, or almost always, girls are the underdogs in the training classes because it's a male-dominated industry. So did you at all feel under pressure being the only girl there and trying to prove yourself to the guys there who may have believed that you weren't going to take this seriously?
I felt a different kind of pressure because Leilani did take to me so well, and because I was the only girl, she gave me a lot of special attention. And so it was her name on the school in the training camp. She got some of the guy wrestlers to help out with the training, and she would kind of take me aside and work with me individually, and then allow the guys who had been wrestling for a few years to work with the other guys. And I think they kind of felt a little cheated, and they would constantly make comments about that. So I felt pressure in a different kind of way, like, oh no, these people don't like I couldn't help the situation. You know, it was Leilani's choice to do what she did, and I think they definitely felt like I had more of an advantage because she gave me so much special attention. As far as the pressure from the guys, like I got a little bit picked on from that aspect, and you know, other than that, I mean, there wasn't any pressure. We were always all very competitive with each other. I'm just competitive nature. You know, guys are competitive with each other, and I felt like, hey, you know, if I want to do this, I need to be able to roll with the guys. I need to be able to do what they can do. So, you know, I never once used, oh, I'm a girl, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. You know, I was there trying everything they tried and doing everything they did and wanting to do, if not more. But, yeah, I definitely felt like it was a little bit of an uncomfortable situation, not because of the male-female gender, but because Leilani gave me special attention.
Well, and this is the case for a lot of people in the business, especially when they're first starting out. A lot of them have the intention of making it to a big televised program like the WWE or TNA wrestling when they first start out, because it's what they grew up watching. You know, it's their
right.
dream. They've always wanted to perform on television just like their old legends that they love. But when they progress in their career, they soon realize that getting a contract with those two companies is like winning the lottery. So
right.
What keeps you going, knowing that the chances of you or anyone else making it to a big televised company is very small? How do you prevent yourself from saying, oh, I just wasted all this time and this dedication to the wrestling industry and it never paid off? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I actually had this conversation with Al Snow a couple weeks ago, and you know how WWE has their little tryout matches where they'll invite talent to come in and kind of have a dark match. Are you familiar with that whole process? How they do that?
Yes.
Yeah. So that happened to me very young in my career. I think I'd been wrestling 2 or 3 years. I started wrestling when I was 17, so I was probably not even 21 at the time. I was just very young, and that is true. Everyone gets into this business because, you know, you grew up a fan watching it, watching WWF, you know, watching Hulk Hogan, watching, you know, these huge, bigger-than-life superstars that, you know, just wowed you. So, I mean, if you didn't have that experience and you're a professional wrestler, I'm not really sure why you would be a professional wrestler. So to say that you get into the business not wanting anything else is totally not true. But in the conversation I had with Al is the people who get into the business for that reason end up being the most unhappy people, because there's a lot of consequences. There's a lot of things that come along with that fame and with that job at WWE or TNA or being on TV. And I learned really young when I went to WWE, I was very uncomfortable. I felt like I was in an environment where I wasn't appreciated, where I wasn't welcomed. Nothing mattered except for what you looked like and who you knew and who you were nice to. And after that experience, I ended up not even going, because they usually do 2 shoots, 2 nights back to back in very close cities, and I was booked for both. I ended up not even going to the second one because of how uncomfortable and how unwelcome I felt in that position. And at that moment, I realized, like, this isn't the reason that I got into this business. I got into this business because I had this huge, immense passion for professional wrestling. I'd had it since I was a kid. And for someone to take that away from me and for it to feel like it's no longer what I want it to be, which is what that experience did for me, was not worth it. You know, I never again attempted, never sent in anything to WWE. I never attempted to try to do anything with TNA. I knew from that very moment, you know, I got into this business because I love it. I want to be a part of it. I enjoy entertaining. I enjoy being part of a crowd. I don't need a TV contract for me to be able to do those things. I enjoy being around the girls who enjoy being around the girls, not the WWE girls that want to throw out their bags. I'm not sure about the current girls. At the time, there was a situation where they threw out, one of the girls I was with, they threw her bag out of the dressing room. Like, who does that? Did your mom not teach you manners? Really? I mean, it was just a really uncomfortable situation. So, you know, like, I never want to be a part of this business if it's going to make me uncomfortable. I'm a part of it because I love it, and I want to be a part of it.
Well, a lot of what you just, I'm sorry. A lot of what you just mentioned is a lot of what us fans don't see, that whole backstage environment, and just how, for lack of a better term, superficial some of those big-time companies can be, especially with the whole diva image that they're promoting now. And that image has been under a lot of controversial backfire from different workers and different fans about promoting this whole sort of pop culture Barbie doll look. Seeing as that you really wanted to get in the business for the right reasons, what do you think about these models that are trying to get in the business? Because some would say that some are doing it just for attention, but there are others who really want to be good wrestlers. So what is your opinion on this matter?
Goodness, that's a difficult one. For the most, I mean, I don't watch WWE. Sometimes I'll have friends on TNA and I'll tune in, which is a totally different product. But, you know, the whole model thing, I remember thinking at one point, oh, those are girls that wanted to be models but couldn't, so now they're WWE superstars. You know, for the girls who come in and work really hard and, you know, take time to learn the business and, you know, learn how to respect it, good for them. I think, you know, they deserve to be where they are. The girls who just want to come in and, you know, be on TV, seriously, I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. My opinion, you know, doesn't really matter. You know, I think it sucks. I think it's unfortunate for other people, but it's business, you know. It is what it is. Vince McMahon only cares about what makes him money. He doesn't care about someone's attitude. A girl could have the worst attitude in the world, but if she's going to make him a few $1 million, he's going to put her on TV regardless of how she respects the business. I have a different point of view because, you know, from my love and respect for the business, I expect other people in the business to have the same feelings toward it. But, you know, that's not the case. We're all different individuals. We all have different goals and different ambitions. We all have different motives. And, you know, to each person, you know, to each his own. Now,
you hold a master's degree in business, and something like that is very rare for a wrestler in the industry. And I think it's also very interesting because pro wrestling is a business. It's part of the entertainment industry, and the entertainment industry is business. So having that educational background, has that allowed you to kind of shape your wrestling career in a different way if you had not had that educational background that you have now?
Yeah, you know, I definitely think that my educational background has given me longevity in the business. If it weren't for my business-minded sense, I wouldn't be wrestling today. I have my own company, which I have, you know, along with many other different female wrestlers, has found a way to make money out of it and to still be a part of it and still be involved with professional wrestling. Now, do I do a show every weekend and make $150, $200, drive 8 hours? No, I'm too old for that. I've been in wrestling way too long for that. But, you know, I'll have my shoots and invite my girlfriends and, you know, people I've wrestled with for the last 8 to 10 years. And, you know, we have a blast and we develop a great product and we sell it. And, you know, it is very business-minded because you have to, you know, you have to kind of step aside and be like, all right, you know, this is fun. We enjoy doing this. At the same time, it's a business and, you know, we're here to make money. So this is the way it's going to be. And, you know, sometimes your friends who all just want to go out and have a good time the night before, they don't really like it when I have to put on my other side, my more business-minded side, and I'm telling them, no, we can't do certain things. So, yeah, it's kept me in the business. It's made me money. I've made a living off professional wrestling, which is rare. A lot of people never get that opportunity, which is another reason I even created my business, is because I know what it was like to try to make a living off professional wrestling very unsuccessfully. It's very difficult for people to do, especially on the independent circuit. I mean, I honestly don't even think people at WWE or TNA make that great of a living, but that's also coming from someone who I do have my MBA and have a professional career, and I'm seemingly pretty successful at it. So, I want to create a home with my business where it gives the girls another place to make money. And I think if there were more people like me, then it would make more independent wrestlers able to make a living off their craft and what they enjoy to do.
Now, there are a lot of different factors that go into, say, an indie worker struggling to make money out there, because I wouldn't say that they don't have a good business sense, but they don't have the background that they do, as you do with your education. So for them, what advice would you give in order for them to succeed financially while still being a part of the wrestling industry in the capacity that they want to be?
I think that, professional wrestling is, there's a niche market out there. It's a very unique product, male or female. Yeah, I think it's about a brand, If you want to market yourself as an individual professional wrestler, as a tag team, whatever, you're creating a brand. You're getting merchandise. You're making 8x10s. You're creating your website. You're on your social network. You're promoting your brand and your craft. And, if it's getting someone to stand beside the ring every time you get in the ring and videotaping your match and selling it for, $2 a download for a 10-minute match, or, selling pictures of your matches, or constantly just anything that you can think of, like doing interviews, putting yourself out there, getting people aware of who you are and getting people to relate to you in some kind of sense, and then translating that into a brand, into a product. I think there's a million different ways to do something. And, I think that's up to the individual to have that creative sense. But, just going to a show once a week, it's not going to do it. You really have to get into what you want to do in the business, and then from there say, hey, I've got to spend time outside of just training and wrestling. It's not all about the training and the show. It's about a brand that you have to create and then market from there. And I would say that would probably be my advice.
Well, there's definitely the promotional side of it, but some I know have argued that the wrestling industry could be a lot more successful, especially on the indie scene, if there wasn't so much, politicking and backstabbing, and a lot of what prevents wrestlers from kind of going forward is the fear of either A, not making it, or B, being betrayed by, say, a business partner, or et cetera. So how much of kind of wrestling being a struggling art, if you will, in the mainstream is due to the whole fear of the backstage aspect of what fans don't see?
That's a difficult question because I haven't been in that scene in so long, but from my experience, I think people get way too independent wrestlers, way too wrapped up in the whole. There's a lot of drama that goes on between promoters and between territories, and I just think it's hilarious. Like, even when I was involved in it and I was, able to see it firsthand, I just thought it was the funniest thing ever. Like, you have this small-town promoter that runs a show that draws 50 people every Saturday night, and he thinks he's like Vince McMahon of the Southeast, and telling other workers they can't work for other people, and, it doesn't make sense that they go work here and lose to this person when they're carrying this belt. And I'm like, you guys are idiots. You're all just idiots. It's the funniest thing to me ever. I think the promoters and everyone, the guys and the girls in the locker room should be encouraging people to go out, And it kind of goes back to creating your brand and marketing yourself. Get as much experience as you can. Don't get caught up in the drama and who says you can do this and can't do this. In the end, is your local backyard promoter really going to get you a job with WWE? And so many independent professional wrestlers, especially the men, not necessarily the women, we have better sense, I'm kidding, really believe that, the independent promoters are going to get them a job somewhere because they've gotten this person a job. It's not even true. So it's very entertaining and very interesting. And I just think it's, ridiculous. It's really funny.
Well, going in a little bit to your wrestling character and presenting yourself in the ring, I've always believed that there's a big difference between imitation and emulation. And that's also a widely debated topic with, all of the models that are in the WWE and even some of the indie wrestlers out there. So obviously you can't be 100% totally original in the moves that you do in the ring or, how you present your character, because it's always going to draw inspiration from, say, your favorite legend that you watched growing up. But to you, what is the difference between imitation and emulation as far as the way that you wrestle in front of the fans?
I have literally sit at an independent show and watched, one of the guys go out and do like every move you could possibly imagine that any big names ever had, like their signature move, like their finishers, just back to back. Like, people get really confused about wrestling, and I think it's when they're a little immature in the business too, because I remember at one point when I was training just wanting to learn all these different moves and work them all into a match. And to me, wrestling, and it's something that comes too, it's something that you start to feel when you're in the ring, and it's less about the character and the gimmick, and it's more about a feel. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but or to anyone. It makes sense in my mind completely. But, I think it's when it's something forced and you have to say, hey, I need to act this certain way and I need to present this gimmick and I need to do this move this way and, have this kind of attitude and do this and this, that it looks very, very fake and very awful. And, I think that's what you see a lot of, especially on the independent circuit. Everyone's trying to be something they're really not. It's funny because people have always asked me, like, what is your gimmick? I'm like, I'm my gimmick. I'm me, there's not another me. Why do I want to be someone else? Like, I'm just me. When I wrestle, I want to be me. That's it. I want to come out. I want to have a good time. I want to entertain. Like, I want to feel the energy from the crowd. And, I want to not say, hey, I'm going to do this match and this is what I want to do in it, but I want to come out not knowing anything, not knowing the way anything's going to turn out. I just want to come out here, have a good time. I don't even know what to expect, and I also feel like when you plan something and when you have something kind of in a sense choreographed in your mind of how you want things to turn out, and when it doesn't turn out that way, you just think it's the worst thing ever, oh, I didn't do this at this time and blah, blah, blah. I learned it a long time ago. It's so much more fun and so much more enjoyable and, so much more entertaining when you don't have that mindset. When you don't expect anything, you can't disappoint yourself. And I think that's something that's important, and I think it's more people wrestled by that. And I think it happens a lot. Like, I'm not sure how many old school wrestlers you've watched. Leilani is a perfect example. Like, she would never, ever talk to me before a match, tell me some move to do or something to do, ever. Would she ever do that? It's unheard of. I mean, she doesn't, no, it would not happen. And, it's funny, my first match after Leilani and this girl was wanting me to do all this stuff, and I was just so confused. I was like, I can't remember this stuff. What am I doing? Oh, my God, this is ridiculous. And, I ended up doing it her way, and it was the worst thing ever. And then, I told Leilani, I was like, I never want to wrestle anyone else beside you. And, so maybe I learned that from her. But I've also noticed from, the older guys and girls that wrestle who do the same thing. Like, you watch their match and you can watch it. It's entertaining. It's not, oh, okay, he messed up on that. You can tell he was totally wanting to do something else. But it's entertaining, and you can tell that they're not expecting anything. They don't even know what's going to happen next either. So I think that's what's most important.
Well, before we get to how fans and other people contact you, this is always one of my most favorite questions to ask. And it's also the most difficult question, and on paper it doesn't seem like that, but it really is. If you could sum up your experience with professional wrestling using just one word, what would that one word be?
Goodness, how long do I have to answer this? Entertaining. Entertaining. Absolutely. It has always been entertaining for me, even, from the days when I thought I really wanted to be in WWE, and that, kind of an emotional roller coaster, getting a call, not getting a call, they like you, they don't like you, and, from indie wrestling, to doing the stuff like Wrestlicious, and, everything's just entertaining, traveling the world, going to Japan and Europe and Mexico, it's entertaining. Like traveling the world because of something you love and getting paid to do it. To me, that's entertaining.
Well, how can fans or bookers stay in contact with you and keep up to date with what you're up to? How
do they keep up with me?
Yeah, just any sort of contact, website,
well,
etc.
I have a Facebook page, Christie Ricci, and then our new website is cherrybombwrestling.com.
Well, thank you so much, Christie, for your time, and I definitely learned a lot, and it seems like you really know your stuff, and it was very insightful for me, so thank you again so much. And I've been a big fan of your work for a long time, so I really appreciate you taking up the time to do this.
Yeah, no, thank you. I enjoyed it.
Well, everyone else, be sure to check out www.wrestling-divas, and that's divas with a Z, .webs.com for all the latest updates and more content. And be sure to follow Wrestling Divas on Twitter, again with the Z at the end, for all of the latest news feeds. And we will have more interviews soon. And thank you very much for tuning in.